How's it going, everyone? Have a seat, please. We're about to begin. Hi, so my name is Wayne Pan. I'm a lead front-end engineer on the Google Mobile Ads team. I'm not here to talk to you today about how to build a mobile application, but how to build a mobile business and the tools that we have available for you to actually do that. I came to Google about a year ago through the AdMob acquisition. And 4 years before that, we were building a successful ad network on WAP, for those of you that remember WAP. And then, all of a sudden, the iPhone happened. And I was part of the team that led the development of our first iOS ads SDK. And just like everyone else, we were completely shocked and blown away at the growth in the coming years. And then we started expanding our platform onto multiple emerging platforms like Android, WebOS, and now Windows Phone 7. Every month, at last count, more than 50,000 applications monetized with AdMob and Google every month. So as the mobile ecosystem, mobile app ecosystem evolves and develops, developers need to evolve and develop, and so do the tools. So today we're going to give you an overview of how mobile advertising works in mobile applications and more advanced topics such as cross-promotion, mediation, and even analytics. So hopefully by the end of the session, you guys will have a better idea on how to build a mobile business, whether or not you have a company and a team that you're already working with, or you simply have an idea. So before we get started, here's the QR code to leave feedback for the session. If the session is useful, how well I'm doing as a speaker, things like that, please leave feedback for all your sessions. That's how we know we can improve I/O. If you're tweeting, use I/O 2011. And also, you guys are on the Android track, so use the hashtag Android. If you have questions, you can log into Google Moderator. There's a URL. I'll put this slide up at the end of the presentation also. So, how many of you out there have actually built an app and put it in the App Store or Marketplace? Raise your hands. Quite a few of you guys. All right. So how do you actually make money off of applications? Well, I'm going to go through 4 basic mobile business strategies. So first of all, paid downloads, pretty obvious. You put the app in the App Store or Marketplace. You charge a user a fee, let's say $1.99, and you take a cut after the App Store or Marketplace, or sometimes even the carrier has taken a cut. It's a one-time monetization fee. Games are very successful with this strategy. Now, keep in mind, these aren't succinct business models, but you can use a mix and match and use a variety of them. I'm just going to explain to you which each one of them refer to, the strategy behind them. The next one is freemium. This is where you, as a developer, put a application, sometimes ad-supported, sometimes with limited functionality. You put it in the App Store for free, and you build your audience, and you get a bunch of users, and you try to upsell them and convert them into a paid download, either by offering them incentives such as more features, more levels, or simply removing the ads if your free app is ad-supported. Many businesses are successful with this. One of them is Outfit 7. They produce an app called Talking Tomcat. If you have kids love this app. My nieces and nephews love it. It's a little cat that talks, and it's ad-supported. You can download a paid version, and you'll get more voices, more gestures, things like that. They have a variety of talking animal apps. The next business strategy is in-app purchases or virtual goods. This is where you put in a most often free application in the App Store, and you monetize your users with virtual goods, either more levels, selling them more gold for a price, or a better sword. Our good friends at Rovio have used this strategy successfully in Angry Birds. Even though it's a paid app, they offered a virtual good called the Mighty Eagle. For 99 cents, you can pay them to get this massive bird called the Mighty Eagle that will allow you to skip a level. It's very successful. They found a way to use virtual goods to monetize their game. If you get a chance, definitely look it up. It's a very good case study on how they were successfully able to do that. So the last one, which we're going to focus on today, is advertising. So first of all, what is advertising? We work with thousands of publishers. Like I said, we have over 50,000 publishers and apps, or 50,000 apps monetizing with our platform. Ads, what you do is, as a developer, you download our SDK. AdMob and Google conveniently provide one. There are many other ad networks out there, though. You download the SDK as a developer. You, as a developer, get to choose where the ads show up in the app, how often they show up. It's a very simple integration. So you integrate, you launch the app or in the App Store or Marketplace. The user downloads your app. They open it. They play the game or they use the application. They come across an ad that's relevant to them or that they want to check out. They tap on it, and you make some money. As simple as that. Now keep in mind that you have the choice on how often and where you want the ads to be shown. So that means every time a user opens an application, you have a chance to monetize them. Versus some of the other business models, it's more of a one-time thing. But with advertising, users get a free app. They like that because they don't have to pay. And you as a developer get to monetize every time a user is engaged with your application. We have a session tomorrow. Some of the AdMob engineers are going to show you how to integrate both I think the Android and iOS and Windows Phone 7 SDKs. It's at 1:45 tomorrow, so if you have time and you're interested, please attend that session. I think it's in room 9. So let's talk a little bit more about advertising and, whoops. Hold on one second here. Sorry, I jumped ahead. So let's talk a little bit more about the terms behind advertising. So these are some basic concepts on advertising. If you're familiar with these, don't worry, this will go by pretty quickly. The first term that we're going to talk about is cost per click, or CPC. This is how much money you get paid when a user clicks on an ad. So we're going to go through some examples. So we're going to use some example numbers here. In our examples, we're going to use 10 cents as the cost per click. So you get paid 10 cents every time a user clicks on your ad, or clicks on an ad in your application. The next term is ad requests. This is when your application goes out to the ad network and says, I want to show an ad. Simple as that. So in the examples, we're going to use 120,000 ad requests. Now this is different than impressions, which is the next term. An impression is actually when an ad is shown in your application and the user has a chance to click on it. So not every ad request results in an impression, and I'll explain why later, and the terms behind that. So in our example, like I said, 100,000 impressions. The ads were shown 100,000 times. The fourth one on this slide is clicks. So we're going to use 1,500 clicks, and clicks are self-explanatory. That's when the user actually taps on an ad in your application. So combining some of these terms is a more advanced term called click-through rate. This is a good measurement for when, a measurement of how relevant the ads are to the users. So click-through rate is calculated by clicks divided by impressions. So in our example, like I said, 1,500 clicks divided by 100,000 impressions results in a 1.5% CTR. So 1.5% of the time, the users saw an ad, they liked it, and they clicked on it, and it was relevant to them. So in our examples, 1.5% CTR. The next term is revenue, how much money you're making. That's calculated by the number of clicks multiplied by the cost per click. Pretty easy. 1,500 clicks multiplied by 10 cents results in $150 in revenue. So for these numbers, the publisher here made $150. Now the next term is a little bit more advanced term, ECPM. This is effective cost per milli. It's essentially, in simple terms, how much money am I expected to make per 1,000 impressions. Now this is a common metric to gauge ad networks. It's not the only metric, but it is one of the most useful ones because there's multiple ways you can buy advertising. In our examples, we're only using CPC. It's every time someone clicks on an ad, you get paid. There's other ways to buy advertising, such as CPM. You can get paid on a impression basis, CPA, or cost per acquisition. You get paid when there's an acquisition. So ECPM is a way to measure across, to level the playing field and to kind of have one metric to judge how much money you're going to make off of different ad networks. So the calculation is revenue divided by 1,000 impressions, or divided by impressions, multiplied by 1,000. So that's effective or expected cost per million, or expected revenue per 1,000 impressions. So in our example, 150 divided by 100,000 times 1,000, $1.50. So for every 1,000 impressions, you're expected to make $1.50. All right, pretty straightforward. So I said earlier that not every impression, or not every ad request results in an impression. And that number is called fill rate. It's essentially impressions divided by ad requests. So in this example, 100,000 impressions from 120,000 ads, 83% fill rate. Now fill rate, some people would expect to be 100%, but there are many reasons why an impression doesn't result, or an ad request doesn't result in an impression. There are things such as available ad inventory. Geo is a large one. There may not be a relevant ad to serve to someone in Finland, for example. It's just a fact of ad networks, and not reaching 100% fill is common, and it's not something that should be looked down upon, because it shows that we want to, as an ad network, and as a developer too, you want to show the most relevant ad to your user. And in some cases, there may not be one. Simple as that. So let's combine all these terms that I've been talking about into a more complicated scenario. So in this scenario that's on the screen back there, Ad Network A is offering you $1 ECPM. That is $1 for every 1,000 ad impressions. They're offering you an 83% fill rate. So your expected revenue per 1,000 requests is going to be $1 multiplied by 83%, or 83 cents. So for every ad request, you're going to make 83 cents. Now Ad Network B is offering you a $3 ECPM, which is 3 times more than Ad Network A. But yet they only fill 25% of their ad requests. So for every 100 ad requests, you only get 25 ads. So $3 ECPM multiplied by 25% fill rate, 75 cents. So as you can see, the ECPM of Ad Network B is much larger than Ad Network A, but yet you'll be making more money. Your revenue will be much higher, or higher, with Ad Network A's, going with Ad Network A. So as a developer, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, so what if I want to use both ad networks? Maybe why should I stick with one? And you'd be right. So for those of you that have apps in the marketplace or app store and are using advertising to monetize, how many of you guys are using more than one ad network? Only a few of you. Okay. So I'm going to show you why you would want to use more than one ad network. So this is a chart of ECPM over time of just some fictitious ad network A. Now ECPM fluctuates for a variety of reasons, just like fill fluctuates. Campaigns coming online, different mix in inventory, seasonality. Q4 is a big quarter for ads. So it's natural to have CPMs fluctuate over any given amount of time. It's natural. But not every ad network's CPM fluctuates, or ECPM fluctuates in the same way. So in this case, Ad Network A's ECPM is lower at the beginning of whatever we have as time there than Ad Network B's, but goes above Ad Network B's in the middle, and then C takes over, so on and so on. So as a developer, what would you do in this scenario? Should you pick A? Should you pick B? Should you pick C? Well, you obviously want to make the most money. That's what you guys all want to do, right? We want you guys to make the most money. So to accomplish that, you would want to be on the top of all these charts. So you want to pick the highest or optimal ECPM at any given time, no matter what network. You want to serve that ad network's ad at any given time. So what you want to do is called mediate. You want to mediate between multiple ad networks. And mediation means that in any ad slot, so in this application here, at the top of that, there's one ad slot at the top of this app, and mediation allows you to serve any ad network into that ad slot. Let's say this week ad network A is making the most money. You can serve ad network A's into that ad slot. Next week, it's ad network B. This is a little bit more complicated on mobile than it is on desktop because users download apps and you can't change things on the fly. So mediation is important. So Google and AdMob offer a free solution. This is 100% open source. It's called AdRoll. It's at adroll.com. You can use it free of charge, and you can also look at the code to know that we're not doing anything fishy. You can even launch your own version of AdRoll if you want. It's that open. And AdRoll allows you to use unlimited number of ad networks, any number of them. You can turn them on and off on the fly in real time. You can change allocation percentages. You can maximize your revenue by using mediation. There's many other mediation solutions out there. This one provides some pretty basic functionality. And we understand that mediation is important. So we're building mediation into the core functionality of AdMob. We're not ready to announce anything yet, but we're going to have an announcement in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so you've built an app, and you have started monetizing that. Now what's the next natural step? It's to build another app, right? So for those of you that raised your hands earlier that have built an app, how many of you have built another app, a second app? Oh, quite a few of you. All right. So let's take a look at active users over time. This chart represents the adoption of App A over time. It's a pretty common curve. You know, many apps are different. This is not applicable to every app, but this is a pretty common adoption curve. A little bit slow at first, reaches a peak. Some users tail off, and then you have some sticky users at the end. Now, when you build a second app, or let's say there's another app, it would follow generally the same adoption curve. Now, App A and App B could be from different publishers, but if you guys have built two apps or multiple apps, you actually have control over App A and App B. So how could you take advantage of that to increase the slope of the user adoption of App B? How could you somehow take advantage of it? You already have an app, you already have an active user base to start getting users on App B, or to start building a brand, start building a business. If you could do something like that, that'd be awesome, right? You increase the slope, App B's adoption skyrockets, and you get users right away for your successive apps. So it turns out you can because you have App A. And doing this is called cross-promoting, or house ads, as our feature is called. What you're doing is you're taking your active users from App A and driving them to also adopt your second application. And I'll show you how to do that in a bit. But here's a little case study of one of the most successful, or one of our more successful cross-promoters in our network. This is Backflip Studios. You guys may know them from Paper Toss. So in this slide here, you can see that they're using Strike Night and Ninjump. At the bottom, you see an ad for Bugganoids in both those applications. So users or players of Strike Night and Ninjump, they see the ad Bugganoids, they click on it, and they land on the App Store's landing page, and they see it's also from Backflip. Hey, I like Strike Night, I like Ninjump. Why shouldn't I try out Bugganoids? We find that cross-promoting and house ads cause a much higher conversion rate because users generally trust if users like your application, they'll generally trust you and download successive apps. And Backflip Studios has built a brand around this. They built a business, an actual business. So I'm going to show you a demo of how to create a house ad using AdMob. So hopefully this will work. All right. So this is AdMob.com. It's a free service, self-service. You can sign up, AdMob.com, if you haven't already. I'm going to show you a small section, which is just our house ads functionality to create a cross-promotion ad. So so I'm going to play the role of the publisher. I have an app out there. It's called Golden Gate Defender. It's a game. I've created another app. It's called Aliens Attack, and I want to start cross-promoting that. I want to drive users that are using Golden Gate Defenders into Aliens Attack. So I come to AdMob.com. I go to the house ads section. I create an ad. It's an Android marketplace ad or app. So I'm going to link to the marketplace. I'm just going to call it Aliens Attack Promo. And the URL is going to be, I think it's details, pname, aliens attack. So URL is basically the URL of your marketplace app. And I want to advertise that in my app, which is Golden Gate Defense. And then from there, I can start to choose where I want the ads to show up. I've already picked, I want to show up in Golden Gate Defense. What countries do I want to show up in? So I'm actually just going to pick US because maybe I haven't internationalized the app yet. But you can see here, you can pick, you can highly target via geo where this app shows up. So let's say you want to make a heavy push into Germany. You can pick Germany and run a promo for that. And you can pick just any country that you want. After that, I can pick which devices I want this to run on. So the first one is going to be, or my first option is to run on all Android devices. I can pick specific Android devices here. This is a list of all the Android devices that are in our network or that are using your application. So you can see it gets very specific, Google Nexus 1, et cetera, G2. You can also pick which versions. So let's say my new game, Aliens Attack, only works on Android 2.0, so I can pick 2.0. And then from there, I just simply need to create the ad. So we offer banner ads and text ads. I'm just going to create a regular text ad. It's the lowest barrier to entry. Just need to have some creative text. I can upload a custom tile, which is this one here, or I can just pick a standard one. I'm just going to pick a standard one for this demo here. And that's this little thing on the left. And this is what my ad is going to look like. So I'm going to start typing, download Aliens Attack free now. And that's it. My ad is done. I hit create ad and finish. And there you go. And my ad's created. This will run in my Golden Gate Defense. The users will see this ad. They like Golden Gate Defense. Hopefully they'll download my Aliens Attack game. And in here, there's a bunch of reporting after the fact. You can see the ad will immediately be immediately scheduled, will immediately start running. You can track clicks, your conversion rate. You can track all sorts of things. We have some enhancements coming up to house ads that we'll be announcing in a couple weeks also, so stay tuned. All right, let's see. Hopefully this works again. All right. All right, so now we've talked about how to make money off of your applications, all the business models that are available. We've talked about how to cross-promote your applications. We could, jump-start your successive applications. And so let's talk about what do you do now? There's a lot going on. You got a business, you got a couple apps, maybe you're cross-promoting, you're making money. What should you do? You should start to measure and analyze your business, right? Next logical step. So how many of you that have shipped an app actually also have an analytics package in your app? A few people. All right, you guys are on the right track. If you're an Android developer, this screen looks probably very familiar to you. Simply the number of downloads that you have for your application over time. And you can get a little bit slightly deeper by looking at which countries your apps have been downloaded in. But what's lacking here is, deeper metrics like user loyalty, engagement. How many people have reached level 5 in your application? What is the most used feature in your application? Where should you focus your energy on? Where should you be devoting your development resources on? Maybe nobody has reached level 10. Is there a bug in my app? Maybe, I don't know. So how do you do that? Well, you can use Google Analytics. We provide a mobile ads SDK, or mobile Google Analytics SDK that provides the same great functionality as Google Analytics Desktop. You can measure engagement, loyalty, all those things I just said. So in this example here, this is actual data from an app. This is visitor loyalty. So this is measuring over the last 30 days how many repeated uses, or how many users have repeatedly used my app. So if you can't read it, it's a little bit hard to read, but the bucket that has the most is 15 to 25 times, followed very closely by 25 to 50 times. And that tells me a lot. That tells me that my users are engaging and using my app at least once a day. A lot of them, at least 34%, and then probably a little bit more. I can't do the math in my head, but a lot of them are using my app every single day. That's great, because if I'm monetizing, like I said, with ads, every time the user engages with my application, I have a chance to monetize them. So for a majority of my users, I'm monetizing them every day. Now, if you install Google Analytics and your chart looks a little different, there's maybe some improvements that you can do. But without Google Analytics, you won't know this deep dive into data. You won't know anything more than just past downloads. And if you can't, if you don't know these metrics, you can't improve it. I mean, it's the basic concept of good engineering, right? If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So getting started with Google Analytics or Analytics for mobile applications is very easy. Download the SDK, available on iOS and Android at code.google/mobile/analytics. And then go to Google Analytics, sign up for a site, or sign up for an analytics account as you would any other site, and then create an app profile for your app. The Google Analytics team is doing a session tomorrow also at 12:30. Please attend if you're interested in doing some deeper integrations, and they're going to go through deeper concepts that we're going to cover here. They launched last week something called Ecommerce Tracking, and this is applicable if you're selling virtual goods. You can actually measure, which virtual good is doing well, which ones do users like. Is it the blue sword? Is it the green sword, et cetera? If you're selling actual goods, you can do the same e-commerce tracking that you would do on a desktop site. And then they also launched Android referral tracking. So if you're advertising your app, you can actually see which sources are driving the most engaged users in your application. And that's a pretty deep metric, right? Where am I spending my money? Where am I getting my most value, right? And it may turn out that house ads, you're getting most value, so you want to actually be devoting more of your inventory, foregoing some of your ad inventory for house ads. These are the things that you can find out with Google Analytics. So we covered building a mobile business, all the ways you can monetize, cross-promotion, cross-promoting your apps, mediating using more than one ad network, which we're totally cool with you doing, and analytics. So all these, we're launching a new site. We're actually announcing it in this session called the App Galaxy Map, and it's at guidetotheappgalaxy.com. It covers measuring, promoting, earning, everything that we covered in this session today, plus case studies from successful businesses. It's a really cool, well put together microsite, and we hope you like it. We're launching it and announcing it here. So great. So with that, we're going to move on to Q&A. So if you have questions, please come up to the mic in the front, and I'll hopefully answer them. Questions? Anybody?
I'm curious if there's ever a chance that Google will allow us to have a special permission specifically for analytics so that we're not required to, incur the full internet permission if we just need to send analytics data.
I actually don't know the answer to that. You can ask the Google Analytics team. I'm not sure if they're having office hours, but that would be something to ask them. Or I can ask and you can find me offline. But that's definitely a good thing to find out. So,
when are you guys going to support larger ad formats on AdWorld?
On AdWorld?
Yeah.
So like I said, when I mentioned AdWorld, we're actually developing mediation into our core AdMob product. We're not ready to announce anything yet, but if you find me after, I can maybe show you a sneak preview.
All right.
So. I'm going to take a question from moderator. So the first question here is, which ad position does Google recommend which would generate the most revenue in Android apps? So we've had a bunch of experience with this. We work with multiple publishers. And we find that where you put your ad has a great effect on how much money you're going to make. Users generally don't want to be, if they're using your app, let's say it's a game, they generally don't want to be bothered by an ad. So they're probably not likely to click on it. Like if I'm sitting down and I'm ready to play a game, and the first thing I see is an ad, no, I want to play your game. That's why I opened your app in the first place. So we found, let's talk about games specifically. We found that if you put your ad, in between levels, or at the end of a score screen, the user has consumed your app, they're done with it. They'll most likely, at that point, they'll be ready to click on an ad. They'll be ready to go somewhere else. So you need to think, as a developer, you need to think, what would I want as a user? You don't want users to leave your application. You want them to engage. You want to give them a good experience. You want them to come back. So we find that putting an ad placement in a spot in which users are ready to move on to the next thing or they're finished with your experience is the best place, and it's going to definitely make you the most money.
So I was wondering, are there tools to get competitive data, competitive application data, how they are doing versus my app is doing statistically?
Application on how many downloads, or are we talking about?
Right, so if I have a gaming application of certain kind, then
Okay.
How are the other gaming applications doing?
In what metric?
Competitive, as in somebody else's gaming application, how they're performing in Android marketplace versus mine.
Oh yeah, so you can, rank in the App Store is a good one, obviously. There's no tools that we have that you can build, but we found that the developer community is they're willing to share. There's probably a bunch of developers. The person next to you probably has developed a game application, so you can ask them. Sorry.
Hi. Is Google Analytics open source, and how is it compared to Flurry?
I don't think the server side is open source. I'm not sure if the SDK is. I believe so. But Flurry is a great product, and they're actually one of our good friends. But Google Analytics is, we're adapting all the features that you have in Google Analytics, which is, I believe, one of the leading free analytics solutions, onto mobile. So all the great features that you know and love from desktop version of Google Analytics or website versions, you'll be able to take advantage and do deep tracking, deep linking, all the great stuff that you'll do in desktop. We're going to make them available, or they are available in Google Analytics mobile. So I can't say feature for feature which one's better, but I don't know if that answers your question, but definitely.
Is there anything that Google Analytics can do that Flurry can't?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask the Google Analytics team, or I can hook you up with one of them if you find me after.
OK, thanks.
Cool. OK. Well, we're going to take one more question from Google moderator here. So this question is, what is the best way to make money with an app? Free, ad-supported, or paid app? So it really depends. we like advertising, obviously, advertising supported apps. Users love them because they don't have to pay to experience your app. And like I said, a paid app download is a one-time monetization event. The user pays you when they download the app. They get to use it indefinitely. With ads, you can monetize every time a user engages in your app. So it really depends. I mean, some apps are better as a sale. Some apps are better with ads. Some apps are better with virtual goods. It just all depends on what your app is and who your target audience is. So.
Hi. I would like to know on AdMob if there are any other ways for getting more relevant ads other than filtering the categories.
So we have, so filtering the categories is, we're working on keyword relevance for AdMob, but right now you have, your options are, a lot of our targeting, our ads targeting, is going to be through the device. Like when I showed you the house ads creation, it's through device or geo. We're working on piping through the keywords into AdSense. So you actually get AdSense ads from through AdMob. So there's a keyword section in the SDK, and you can come to office hours and we'll show you how to implement it if you don't know or you haven't figured that out yet. But that's going to be the best way to drive relevant ads into your application. Any other questions? No? No? Okay, that's it. Thanks everybody for coming.